Okay. Another way that we can solve this, all right, is normally we would just want to go in here and say, oh, I want to just cross multiply. And you would love to do this times this and this times this, and everything would be nice and easy. But that's not always the case. And so we use something called the least common denominator, right? We've been using that when we talk about adding and subtracting fractions in general. So let's go ahead and do this. The first thing you should recognize is that x squared plus 2x minus 8, this quadratic can be factored. So this becomes 2x plus 1 over, and I'm going to factor this into x and x. The factors of 8, that would give me 2, are negative 2 and positive 4. Okay? Bring down the rest of this problem. So plus 2 over x plus 4 equals 1 over x minus 2. Now, you might be thinking, hey, I remember this from the other lesson. We have to give everything a common denominator, and so we would have to do an x minus 2 here, and we would have to do an x plus 4 here, and everything would wind up being very, very simple. But I know a lot of us don't really like to work with these fractions. So the good news is we can do this in a way where you don't have to work with the fractions, but you do have to carefully multiply out, okay? Just before I start to do this, if I said take 3 over 2, and I multiplied this by 2, okay? Well, 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 over 2 is 3. So essentially, you could have just crossed that out. The same thing is going to happen when you're cross-simplifying with all of these terms, even though there's variables in here, okay? You do still have to figure out what is the LCD. So the LCD, or the least common denominator of this entire problem, okay, look at everything that's in the denominator, is x minus 2 and x plus 4. Now, the nice thing about this is that we're going to see that we can make these fractions turn into whole number expressions. So if I look at the first one, I like to cover it up. So I'm going to look at the first term. I see that an x minus 2 is already here, and an x plus 4 is already here. So if I were to multiply this, this would become 1, and this would become 1. Okay? Don't actually cross these out, because you will need to distribute them to all of the other terms. If I were to multiply this whole thing times this first big fraction, the numerators and the denominator would wind up becoming 1, and I would get 2x plus 1. Okay? Now I go to my next term. My next term has an x plus 4 in the denominator, so I'm going to say, you know what? I don't need this x plus 4, and it matches with this one, so this one's also going to become 1. That means you're left with an x minus 2. So I would write plus 2 times x minus 2. Okay? Equals. And then I go to my next problem. Put this back in here. X plus 4. The next problem has an x minus 2, but it doesn't have an x plus 4. So I have to distribute the x plus 4 to the 1. Well, that's easy. It's 1x plus 4. Okay? Now I see a very nice equation. So here we go. 2x plus 1 plus, distribute out your 2. 2 to negative 2 is negative 4 equals x plus 4. 2x and 2x is 4x. Negative 4 and positive 1 is negative 3. This equals x plus 4. Move the x to the other side, so you get 3x. Add your 3 to both sides, you get 7. X equals 7 over 3.